And finally, money. How could I not end with money when the economy is the most important thing in all the world ever, bar none, ever? I think this is a really important point, that the Roman world was pyramidal, obviously, socially, structurally speaking, not actually pyramidal, it was round, like that. But their society structure was pyramidal. The plebs at the bottom, loads of them, the middle class, the equites, fewer of them, the posh people, the senators, fewer again, and then in the imperial system, one person at the top, the emperor. And everybody was a patron or a client to somebody, right? So the emperor gives a man called Maecenas a bit of cash and help and contacts. Maecenas, in turn, is an arts patron, so he funds Virgil, Propertius, Horace, and so on and so on and so on. They write their poetry for him, they say something nice about him in it, and it's all a very kind of hand-greasing hand type system. And it works perfectly well. Unless you read Juvenal, it tells you it's absolutely foul from start to finish, and that the only reason that anyone does anything is because they're hoping for personal gain of the lowest kind. So Juvenal shows us the ugly version of this, that your patron will invite you to dinner, but he'll give you the crappy wine while he's having lovely wine, and you'll have a broken cup, and he'll have a lovely goblet, and he'll have lovely milled white flour, and you'll have horrible teeth-breaking stones in it type bread. And everything about the client-patron relationship, according to Juvenal, is venal and unpleasant. The reason I mention this is because it seems to me my newspaper is about to put up a paywall, and people are very cross. The people at The Guardian are furious. I'll tell you that for nothing. Why should we pay Rupert Murdoch? Oh, kill me. People are cross because we are used to the internet being free, except that many things that you get on the internet are not free. When you book your holiday on the internet, it is not free. When you buy clothes on the internet or groceries, not free either. The only people who essentially give their work up for free are creative people, musicians, writers, etc. And when somebody says, well, actually, if The Guardian loses tens of thousands of pounds a day on its current system, it can't do that indefinitely. They will simply run out of money. And before that happens, I would imagine they'll have to stop running the expensive bits of the newspaper. That's going to be foreign correspondence, I'll tell you that for a fact. It would be a shame. You know, periodically this is written about by people who, you know, spend most of their time talking about the internet and gadgets and stuff. I can do this perfectly well from my house. Yes, of course you can. But people reporting on, well, let's say, recent troubles in Bangkok, they can't do that from their house. They have to go to Bangkok, and that's expensive and dangerous and difficult. And if you don't want to pay £1 for your paper, then that's fair enough. But if you want to buy it online for like £2 a week, then that seems to me a really small price to pay for keeping the press running. Unless we want the world to go back in time to a point, as the Romans lived, where the only people who write are people who are already very wealthy, or people who are paid for by a private patron, we need to start accepting that stealing things off the internet is not necessarily the smartest thing anyone can do for their long-term future. I will, though, leave you with the story of Vettius Pollio as an example of how money worked in the ancient world. We're so used to, I think, viewing Rome as an ultimate place of great wealth and great poverty. So I think it's worth bearing in mind that the numbers are very, very, very difficult to convert. And only by doing the vaguest possible sum can you do it. So probably the richest person in the time of the Emperor Claudius was a freedman called Narcissus. He was worth 400 million sesterces. Now you could buy roughly 2 loaves of bread for 1 sesterce. I reckon you can buy 2 loaves of bread for about £1.50. In fairness, my local supermarket is a Waitrose, it may not be representative. But let's say then that £1.50 is worth roughly a sesterce, and that's with all due caveats that this is probably miles out. But that means that Narcissus's 400 million sesterces is worth about £600 million, roughly. Let's assume my maths is miles out and it's worth double that, 1.2 billion. That's the richest person in the ancient world. Let's all stop for a moment and think about how very much richer. There were more than 1,000 billionaires in the world the year of the financial crisis, according to Forbes magazine. And those are presumably just the official ones that we actually know about. Let's take out the people who people traffic, drug traffic, etc. More than 1,000 billionaires. So, Vettius Pollio is a very wealthy man and the first Bond villain in history. He invited the Emperor Augustus to dinner, and he had a beautiful set of glass goblets. And one of his slave boys, who was a little clumsy, smashed one of them. He didn't mean to, but he did. And Vettius Pollio said, okay, right, then you know what we do now? Feed him to the lampreys. Feed him to man-eating eels, I swear on my life. Like, that wasn't a little Blofeld. How weird is that? Instead of the piranhas, he's got special ugly lampreys. They are hideous, by the way, even uglier than a piranha, to feed people to who displease him. And the boy screams out, not that he doesn't want to die, and this is in many ways the saddest thing of all, just that he doesn't want to be eaten. It doesn't occur to him that not dying is an option for somebody who broke a glass. And Augustus is so moved by the cruelty of the punishment, says Seneca, that he orders the boy to be set free. He doesn't get eaten by lampreys, and every one of Vedius Pollio's glasses is smashed before his eyes. Let that, as they say, be a lesson. Thank you very much for coming. Please buy the book.